Rescue 911 next.
This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, an unsuspected horror. A baby battles for survival.
I felt like he was dying in my arms. It was the diagnosis I did not want to make.
Doctors discover a rare blood disease.
Many times I kept saying, put me in his shoes.
Plus,
Virginia Beach Police Fire and Rescue.
experience the real-life drama of volunteer paramedics.
A lot of times you don't have time to think. It's basically a race against death.
On Rescue 911.
Marlene Pacheco and her husband Manuel lived in Colorado Springs, Colorado, with their 3 children. As parents, they would do anything to make their kids happy. But as Marlene and Manuel discovered, sometimes the life of a loved one may depend on the actions and kindness of a long chain of strangers.
Aaron, we always knew he was special from the beginning. And there was something about Aaron. He was playful, loving. So I never thought I'd ever have to experience anything like this. It was a Friday evening, and I happened to notice he had a real big bruise right on his cheek. I thought that maybe one of the children might have hit him with the ball or swinging back and forth on the swing set. What are you guys doing outside? And, they both didn't know. They didn't know how I got there.
Oh my God. That Monday morning, when I had lifted him from his rib cage, he had both my handprints on his ribs. Aaron was very weak. He had marks on his face from where I kissed him. That's how sensitive his skin was. You couldn't even press on him and a bruise would occur. I was scared. There's no way of describing it. I felt like he was dying in my arms.
When we continue,
When a child reaches this condition, a high percentage of them will not make it through the next day.
The beat. Free travel pack of our new delicious Super Beats chicken.
I can for my health.
Sorry to have to tell you, but Aaron is very critically ill. I thought that he probably had.
Aaron's parents rushed their young son to Memorial Hospital, where he was examined by pediatric blood specialist Dr. Emma Harwood.
Sorry to have to tell you, but Aaron is very critically ill. I thought that he probably had a disease or a process going on that was interfering with blood production. And when a child reaches this condition, a high percentage of them will not make it through the next day. After seeing the initial blood tests, I went back to the parents at that point and I told them that Aaron's bone marrow had failed. The possibilities as to why this had happened included leukemia, some severe diseases like aplastic anemia, and severe infections. And we should pray for leukemia. So he's got some significant bleeding.
My husband and I, no way am I going to pray for leukemia, because leukemia to me was something very, very serious and very scary. And aplastic anemia, that sounds harmless. And to tell you the truth, there was probably times when I prayed for aplastic anemia, which was very hard later when I found out that's what he had.
Now that's a very serious problem. Aplastic anemia is a condition where the bone marrow production of blood totally fails. It was what I did not want to see. It was the diagnosis I did not want to make. And I felt very sad.
The whole world stopped. I was sitting here looking at a situation that I couldn't understand.
We'll let you hold him as soon as possible.
Right here, man.
Just about the only hope for victims of aplastic anemia is a bone marrow transplant. But the donor must be a perfect match.
About 1 in 4 are lucky enough to have a relative, specifically a brother or sister, who will be a bone marrow donor for them. Of those unlucky children who do not have a donor within the family, the majority of them will die.
Aaron's family, including his brother and sister Antoinette, volunteered to be tested.
All I really knew is that he needed a bone marrow transplant to live. In order to live, he needed that. And so if I had it, I'd give it to him in order for him to live.
Unfortunately, when those tests came back, there was no donor within his family that matched him.
The problem was to try to keep Aaron alive long enough with blood transfusions and medication until they could find a donor for him.
There was nobody giving us any promises, any guarantees. We didn't know how long we had with Aaron. We felt very helpless.
Dr. Harwood, she said that we gotta get used to the fact that we're gonna be here in the hospital for a long time. I knew then that we had a fight on our hand. I wasn't gonna let Aaron die. I wasn't gonna accept the fact that he was gonna die.
They began a search of the National Marrow Donor Registry for a match for Aaron. But his family also contacted recruitment specialist Carol Carlson of the Colorado Marrow Donor Program. Her 4-year-old son, David, had been a victim of leukemia.
People ask me all the time, is David's death the reason that I do the work that I do? And no, it's not. David may be indeed the reason for the passion with which I do the work I do. I knew what it was like to sit and rock your child, not knowing whether he would be alive 2 days from then.
Aaron's best chance for a donor match would be with someone who was also of Hispanic descent.
His chances of finding a match were extremely small because of the 500,000 people that were in the registry in 1991, less than 3% of those were Hispanic.
Wave hi, everybody.
Oh, that
Carol approached us and said, now, we'd like to go to the meeting to ask the public to come forward for this little boy.
I have a press release that needs to go out today.
With the first wave of publicity, more than 700 people turned out to be tested and registered.
I did not want another child to die. It became a personal mission, almost, that Aaron was going to find a donor.
Over the next 4 months, 6 other donor drives were held, and 3,000 new donors were recruited.
We knew the chances of a donor coming from one of our drives was going to be a very slim possibility.
I remember it was school, work, and then straight to the hospital. There was no in between. We hardly even lived in that house anymore. But Aaron was still with us. And there was so much love in that room. I mean, you could cut it at night. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
We spent Halloween, we spent Thanksgiving, we seen Christmas come around, and we spent New Year's. And the holidays were going, and people's lives were going ahead, and we were still in that room waiting.
Good night. I bought Marlene a card. It was a Valentine's card. And she says, there's another holiday we're going through, spending in the hospital.
Pretty nice.
Good morning, folks. I'd like some good news for a change. Finally, the news came back that yes, the donor was willing, and it was a go. Send Aaron tomorrow.
I can't believe it.
The chills went up and down my spine. At the same time, I had that little bit of hesitancy. Aaron now was going to enter a new phase of risk, but at least he had his chance.
Aaron and his parents were flown to the University of Nebraska Medical Center to begin treatments to prepare him for the transplant.
She said that chemotherapy and radiation was going to really, really take a heavy toll on her. We were going to have to go do what Dr. Harwood said we would have to do. And that was go and watch Aaron die all over again.
Aaron was treated under the supervision of pediatric bone marrow specialist, Dr. Bruce Gordon.
Before you get the transplant, you need to do something to kill off your immune system so that the bone marrow that you're getting from someone else will engraft. So indeed, he did get, and we expected him to get, very sick.
On March 5th, 1992, the long-awaited bone marrow was donated at Presbyterian Hospital in Albuquerque, then flown 500 miles to Aaron.
The donor had sent Aaron a bear. She sent a big white bear for Aaron. And whoever this donor was compassionate, very caring, very giving, and that was enough for us. The doctor came in with the bone marrow, He takes the packet of blood and tosses it to my husband, and my husband catches it, almost like wants to pass out. He's holding the bone marrow, and he's looking at it. We're all like shocked. He tossed Aaron's bone marrow across the room.
I warned you it would be anticlimactic.
All I can remember was just sitting and thinking, gosh, I'm holding Aaron's life in my hand, right here. This is what's gonna save him. But it was like me and Marlene just kind of took a deep breath, and it was just a waiting period now.
The emotions in that room were incredible. This was the most moving experience I have ever shared. It was very moving to watch not just Meryl going to Aaron, but a chance at life for an entire family.
He got pretty sick. And I remember when I went back to the Potter house where we were staying, I bawled so hard. Aaron didn't deserve it. And many times I kept saying, Switches, put me in his shoes.
For the first 2 weeks, every day we'd go out and look at his charts and we'd see nothing. On day 12, I went out to look at the chart like I do every morning, and there was one cell. I knew that the bone marrow was working.
2 months after his transplant, Aaron and his parents were flown back to Memorial Hospital, where he spent almost 3 weeks before he was finally released.
That day that we left, it was like getting out of prison. We were prisoners of this illness. We all served a sentence, and we got out. We got out, we were free again.
Recently, the Pacheco family got a chance to meet the donor who gave Aaron the gift of life, Stella Egan.
Hello?
Hi.
How are you doing?
Fine. What Stella Egan did for Aaron was probably one of the greatest things you could ever do for someone. This is Antoinette.
I knew nothing about Aaron. Absolutely nothing. Just that he was 1.5 years old. But, oh, I'm just happy that I could help him. Somebody said that giving marrow comes from the hip, but really mine came from my heart. Well, my part was very small, and didn't hurt at all.
To her, it was so little to give. But for us, on the other end, I mean, Aaron wouldn't be with us today. Every time we look at Aaron, she's with us.
On May 22nd, 1993, Aaron's family celebrated his 3rd birthday, one they never thought he'd see. His family paid special tribute to all those who helped save their son.
When you share an experience like this with another human being, it's a feeling, a bond that will never go away. I think we're joined at the heart.
Stella, would you please come up?
They keep on telling me what a wonderful person I am and all this, but really I don't feel any different. I just wanted to help somebody else.
It's overwhelming, and I just want to say that our hopes and our prayers have been answered just by looking at Aaron today. Thank you.
I like winning against these diseases. The important thing that we need people to know is that there is a tremendous need for all of us to join the National Registry. The process is incredibly simple and very, very safe. But what you're giving to another individual is a chance at life.
You got skills and the equipment, and it's what you can do with that skill and equipment in a short amount of time. It's basically a race against death.
Have you or a loved one been severely burned, or has a family member died as a fire, contact with electrical power lines, an explosion, or defective caused by another's negligence? You may be entitled to compensation. Each year, thousands of people suffer severe burn injuries or death caused by the negligence of others while at work, home, in auto accidents, or other activities. These painful burn injury team that has
$2,000.
That's 800, 9 months.
Creation. It's a week. Throughout the country, our vital emergency systems are being jeopardized by funding cutbacks. But there is something each of us can do about it. What follows is not a recreation. It's a weekend with the Virginia Beach EMS, the largest all-volunteer emergency medical service in the country.
Virginia Beach Police Fire and Rescue. I just got a lady on 19th Street. You know the Star Food Mart? Yes, yes. Okay, listen to me. You hit her with your car or what? Yes. All right, we'll send somebody out there to you, okay? Bye-bye.
At 9:20 p.m., a call from a frightened motorist sends an ambulance to the scene of an accident.
What hurt you? What hurt?
Volunteer paramedic Rob Braithwaite treats the injured pedestrian.
Tell me what's happening. I'm just scared. Okay. I'll tell you what, you're doing fine now, okay? You just relax.
A lot of times you don't have time to think.
Respirations are 18. We're getting an IV with Rangers. I'll do it. Open your eyes.
It's basically a race against death. You have skills and the equipment, and it's what you can do with that skill and equipment in a short amount of time.
What hurts on you, hon?
At the hospital on this night, care of the victim is passed to Rob's wife, Ann, an emergency room nurse.
Hurt down here, Bertha?
P-E-A-R-S-O-N?
If rescue squad hadn't come, someone had picked her up and she actually had a break in her neck somewhere. They could have severed the spinal cord right then and there, and she would have been either dead or paralyzed.
In Virginia Beach, men and women with other lives and other jobs work 12-hour shifts for no pay, providing emergency medical care to strangers.
We have 635 rescue squad people, and I guess if you ask all of them why they joined the rescue service, you get 635 different reasons.
Believe it or not, when a little girl brings you a plate of cookies for picking her up when she broke her arm, that she and her mother baked, I think that is the best experience there is.
My name's Tim, so if you start feeling any worse or any better, just tell me, okay? If he hurts you, you can reach out and slap him, don't slap me, just slap him, okay?
10-year-old Carrie Beth Smith hit her head on a diving board.
The first thing we want to try and do is win the confidence of the patient by joking around and tells the patient that we're very confident and we're very comfortable with their injuries and that we can handle them. She was in pain, but there was the sense that she knew that we were there to help, and there was a warmth inside her eyes just for us being there.
You're gonna be okay. Mommy's gonna call in the car, okay? I'll meet you right there. I'll probably meet you there, okay?
I can't say enough to the rescue squad with being calming and knowing what they're doing, very efficient people. I have learned that kids, you tend to just let them go out and play and not think anything will happen. But just an accident can take them from you.
Fortunately, Carrie's injuries were minor.
That is probably the hardest scenario to have to deal with, is if there's a emergency situation involving a child. But luckily, this young lady turned out very, very, very fortunate.
Off-duty, paramedic Tim Pugh is president of a small retail company.
Working in a sales environment is a stressful situation, so I enjoy rescue as a way of rest and relaxation. You find that your mind is cleared, you're addressing the immediate issue at hand, and the other things are just unimportant.
Beach Police Fire Rescue. My husband is just sweaty. He's crossing his third week. He's on the floor. I was taken to the emergency room, but I'm really afraid to try to move.
A call comes in about a 67-year-old man with a possible heart problem. Volunteer Dr. Jeff Slepin heads to the scene to help.
I just finished dinner and I was preparing to retire for the evening, and the call went out. The squad that was to respond to this, in that district there were no units available, so I took it upon my own volition to respond.
Mr. Boyce, gonna start a little IV just in case we need to give you some medicine.
The whole time you ride to the hospital, you're thinking what you're going to do. You have to get the steps in your head, you know, how much oxygen you give them, where the oxygen is, what to ask for. When you get calls like that, they can be fine, they can be talking to you, and within 30 seconds, they can stop breathing and stop having a heartbeat.
Computer systems analyst Jay Johns is on duty as a cardiac technician.
I do this because I love it. I don't really get any money for this.
What I get is a satisfaction in knowing that somebody is not as bad as they could have been as a result of something that I knew how to do. This is my fun. This is like going to the playground for a little kid. I enjoy every minute I do it.
Tonight, Ed Boyce is having a digestive problem.
It seems to be doing a lot better. He had to call us.
I knew something was wrong. I'm glad we have the rescue squad. It gives you a great peace of mind to know that they are available, you know, and that you can call them.
It's darn hard work, and it's something which is difficult to do. So the dedication and the commitment to make this happen is incredible. They have a sincere wish to take care of sick and injured people, and I think that they approach it from the standpoint that they take care of them like they're their family.
I like being out in the street. I like being in the field. My parents kept asking me this question the entire time while I was in my late teens. Why do you want to do this? And I still couldn't give them an answer. It's just something inside of me that says, I've got to do it.
When selling your home, one wrong move can cost you thousands of dollars. You need a top real estate agent who will do things right. Sell your home fast and at a great price. Introducing HomeLight, the breakthrough way to sell your home. HomeLight has detailed stats on the top real estate agents.
Community may be in real need of volunteers. Your community may be in real need of volunteer fire and medical personnel. If you are interested in volunteering time, find out how you can help. I'm William Shatner. This series is dedicated to the real heroes who risk their lives to save the life of a stranger. Join me next week for more true stories on Rescue 911.
First responders break down real emergencies. It's the one show you can't afford to miss. Rescue 911. Next on True Crime Network.
A
woman is trapped,
Okay, I'm gonna stay on the line with you till officers pull up there, okay?
and the responding officer fears the worst.
The first thing I thought was, better not know any witnesses.
Plus, can an art student save face
Now, I don't know if we could remove the mask.
when a plaster mask gets stuck?
EMT training covers none of this.
On Rescue 911.
In 1989, Stephen and Carol Tokay said goodbye to the stress and crowds that came with living in a big city and moved to the peaceful countryside near Knoxville, Tennessee. In the few years they'd been living there, most days began the same way, until the morning of December 30th, 1991.
That morning, I got up at 7 o'clock. Carol goes to bed at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, so she gets up later. I think there's a lot of crime everywhere you go, but we felt that being in more of a rural area, he wouldn't be subjected to it as much.
Hi. Hi. Somebody just broke in my house. Okay, are you inside? Yes. You know this person? No, I didn't even check. I just went in here and called. Okay, are you inside the house now? Yeah, I heard him. Okay, is it a male or female? I don't know. Okay, you didn't see them? I ran in the bathroom and
Knox County call processor Joyce Estes took the call.
We get so many calls where someone thinks someone's breaking out and it turns out to be a pet or even a family member that's coming in.
Okay, what did you see, honey?
I didn't see anything. My door shut. I was sleeping.
Okay.
The door was busted in.
Okay.
When she said that they had busted the door in, I knew then we had a good call.
When we continue.
Okay, do you have anything in there whatsoever to protect yourself with?
All I could think of was keep her quiet, keep her hid.
Have you or a loved one been severely burned, or has a family member died as a result of a fire, contact with electrical power lines, an explosion, or defective product caused by another's negligence? You may be entitled to compensation. Each year, thousands of people suffer defective
If you have any...
It can be very frustrating if you...
Sheriff's Deputy Terry Montgomery was closest to the scene, but he was 8 miles away.
It can be very frustrating if you have to travel from one side of your beat to the other. It's always in the back of your mind, you know, is somebody going to be hurt? Am I going to get there in time?
Can I go out and see if I can see who it is? No, you stay right where you are, honey. I don't have a lock in this bathroom. Yeah. Oh, you don't? No. Okay. Do you have a lock on your bedroom? Is your bathroom right off your bedroom? Yeah. We all locked it. Okay. I hear him in there. Okay, I locked the bedroom door. Okay, I'm gonna stay on the line with you till officers pull up there, okay? I hear him on the back door. Okay. I went on the back door. Okay.
We weren't really aware of what we were dealing with. all I could think of was keep her quiet, keep her hid.
Oh, Jesus, they're coming back in now. Okay, can you see the farmhouse from the street? What is that?
When she yelled all of a sudden, it scared me to death. Because I thought, they know she's in the house now. And will they come looking for her?
Okay, they're not saying anything? Do you have any kind of weapons there or anything? Okay. Good God. Okay, you hear anything now? Yes, it's playing on the door. Good heavens. What's going on? Who is that? Just trying to get in the bedroom door. Okay. Okay, stay here with me. Stay here. Yeah, they sure are, honey. We got several on the way.
The worst that you think about in a situation like that is somebody being taken hostage.
Can you hear anything now? You still can't get bedroom? Okay. Okay, do you have anything in there whatsoever to protect yourself with? No. It's in my dress. He's in my bedroom. He's going through the doors.
I was more scared. The danger had escalated, and I didn't know how bad it was going to get.
Sweet Jesus. I know, you're doing great, honey. You're doing great. Charlie 17, Charlie 19, fight through this. She's locked herself in the bathroom. Suspect's supposed to be going through the bedroom.
When they broadcast that the suspects were in the bedroom, the first thing I thought was, they're going to do something to this woman. They're not going to leave any witnesses.
Try to stay real quiet, so maybe he hasn't hurt you yet. He won't stay. Y'all who is it? No one here. Can you still hear anything? Yeah, he's going through stuff. Good heavens.
I was in full view of anybody that would happen to be looking out the window. The suspects were still in the house.
Oh, man. Oh, I know it. Yeah, they're coming fast, they come. God. I hear him getting in a car. Okay, you hear him getting into something? Yes, in the vehicle. Okay, see if you can see what kind it is. Oh, there's a cop car. Oh, it is a cop? There's a cop car. Okay. Oh, thank God. Still there. I'm in the bedroom right here. I'm in the bathroom right here. He's telling me to get out. Okay. I'm going to get down on the floor. You know what I mean? Running. All right. Okay, someone is running? Yeah. Okay, he's in pursuit of him. He's better catch him. Yeah. Okay, all right. Oh, God.
All I could think about was running till my heart busted.
I said stop or I'll shoot! I said stop!
I was determined to catch at least one.
Don't move! Got one
When the officer had the suspect in custody, it was just such a relief.
Can I go now? Okay, you sure can, honey. You go to the restroom while you're in there. I would like to.
She was okay, and it was really all over. And we just started laughing. And that's kind of unusual on a call like that.
That's a hell of a way to wake up, isn't it? Oh, geez, Louise.
When I saw the officer, he looked like a knight in shining armor. I was still shaken.
Okay. Yeah,
And I went up there and he put his arm around me and he gave me a hug. And I started to cry. And it meant so much to me that he was there.
She just hugged me up and just squeezed me and starts calling me her hero. That was the best part of it. It's why you do the job. That's what makes it worthwhile.
Where are we gonna start?
Well, all the people, I think I want to put those lists up in front here.
Okay.
The little guys in front here. For 2 weeks after the incident, my hands would shake at odd times. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever gone through. But you do develop an attitude that when situations come up, that you have it within yourself to take care of it. And I think a lot of people don't know that's there in them. But
Thanks for using Locast.org, the nonprofit that makes local, over-the-air broadcast available to everyone. Just $5 each month.
The incident, the Tokesa installed better locks and got.
So felt really alone. But as soon as I made that contact with that operator on the phone, it was like she was right there with me. To know that people are trying their hardest to help you, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. That's why I sleep at night.
After the second suspect turned himself in, both men pleaded guilty to aggravated burglary. Since the incident, the Tokesa have installed better locks and gotten a watchdog named Rocky.
I love this place so much, I just decided I wasn't going to let him ruin it for me. It's a good old house. It's got good history. One little problem. I'm not going to sweat it.
Big Muddy, Speedy. Speedy, ready?
Next.
I thought it was kind of humorous. But of course, at that time, I thought, it stuck to his hair, but we'll get it off. No big deal. It didn't turn out that way.
A powerful.
Easy like,
We'll work with you on.
Go on with my life.
Your own home.
Call. Some emergencies are more likely to be embarrassing than fatal. At times like these, the only thing that can help save face is a sense of humor, as 22-year-old Eric Lundy of Union College in Lincoln, Nebraska found out while working with art professor Jim McClellan on April 16, 1992.
Danny, we need you to sprinkle this in very gently.
Two of my students, Dan Potter and Eric Lundy, wanted to make masks of themselves, I guess for posterity. And so I said, well, I've done this many times before. Sure, I'll help you with it.
Let me check the...
It's very important to apply Vaseline to any place that it could be embedded in the plaster to keep it from sticking.
The final product looks as if you sculpted your face out of stone or something. I thought it'd be fun. It'd be an experience. It'd be a different art form.
Okay.
Because he's going to be under the plaster for roughly 15 minutes, we need to provide for free breathing during that period.
Breathing comfortably? Are you? And we're ready. It's going to be a little bit cool. Measure left hand if you need it. I'm going to do the eyes if you can pull it.
That's when it gets a little scary, just because you're going to be in there for 15 minutes, and the psychological part of it is pretty tough. If you're claustrophobic, it's not good at all.
You all right? You okay? All right. This will start setting up in just a few minutes now. Okay, Dan, I think we can take this off.
When the mask was set, we began to lift the mask off gently.
Please say you're stuck. What problem? Stuck. Where? Stuck in
We said, well, where's it stuck? And he says, my forehead. It's stuck on my forehead.
I'm gonna lift just a little bit.
The mask normally lifts off very easily, but in Eric's words, he felt like his whole scalp was going to come off.
High school senior Kathy Long, who was taking classes at the college, happened to be passing by.
I noticed some commotion and I heard, "Stop, that hurts, don't do that, quit, it's not coming up."
We're gonna sit you up, Eric.
And I realized that he was stuck.
At the time, Kathy was training to be an EMT.
I thought maybe there's something I can do, but EMT training covers none of this. I wish.
You okay?
Here, try to bend forward and it might come off. I thought it was kind of humorous. But of course, at that time, I thought, you know, it stuck to his hair, but we'll get it off. No big deal. It didn't turn out that way. I said, you're going to look real good in the flat top. Girls may even like this mask, and you may even look better with it on.
Sit straight down. Down.
I think he thought it was funny the first time. I don't think he thought it was funny later.
And I thought, if they don't get this off, it's really gonna ruin his social life, really seriously.
I just want to look down in here for a minute.
As he started getting further down, I realized that, you know, it's not hair anymore, it's gotta be stuck to the skin.
I was literally sweating because I felt responsible.
I'm sorry.
That's a big chunk. Eric did not want the mask in. After the first 45 minutes, he said, I want this thing. I've gone through too much agony and pain to lose it, and I need one for my art class. And Mr. McClellan's like, well, I'll excuse you on this one. He's like, no, I want it.
When music teacher Lisette Deemer spotted the group, her curiosity got the better of her.
Jim was using some kind of a ceramic tool, looked like a teeny-weeny spade. It must have been uncomfortable because Eric was saying, let somebody else work for a while. So I wound up doing some of the chipping.
Well, I don't think we're gonna make much progress this way.
There was a little bit of a space between the hair and the cast.
Let's try an X-Acto knife. Maybe we
That's really scary when you think how sharp an X-Acto knife is. So I didn't want to proceed with that for very long.
just, you need to hold still, okay? Be real careful here. Just gonna try and kind of slice the hair away from you.
Be careful.
It wasn't going too well. It seemed impossible. It was stuck completely across.
What about some water? Okay, here comes water.
Pour some right on the mask itself.
Does that help him?
No, I don't think it's helping.
Let's try some cooking oil or something.
That's plenty of oil. Oh, man.
Well, how about liquid soap?
Hey,
Everybody had an opinion. Everyone had some advice to give. You know, everyone had a solution. Of course, none of it worked.
it's not working. But let's try something else.
A call for assistance brought a Lincoln Fire Engine Company to the scene.
I was not aware that 911 had been called. And all of a sudden, firemen showed up. And I was just thinking to myself, what are firemen? What are they going to do, hose him down? I mean, I didn't know what they could do for him.
Captain Gary Keene assessed the situation.
They did a good job of plastering it. It looked pretty awesome, and the amount of plaster on his face and a straw sticking out of it.
He seems to be breathing fine, his color looks good. When I pull away, it is still stuck to his skin.
They wanted to know if we could remove the mask with some magic instrument, which they apparently thought we carried, which we don't. If we try to work on this, we could probably injure him more than anything else. So we advised him that the best thing to do would be to take it to the hospital and have it removed with a plaster saw.
I was not about to do that. I was not going to sit in a hospital emergency room with 10 pounds of plaster for who knows how long.
What about the dentist? They've got to have some kind of small tools or something you can use.
Orthodontist Ralph Gornick had no idea just how well he knew the young man hiding underneath 10 pounds of plaster.
This Eric?
Yes, this is Eric.
It was definitely on my mind the fact that I had just broken up with the orthodontist daughter. I was not thrilled by that fact at all, to be going to this guy with all these sharp tools and instruments and this big thing on my face. I didn't even know if he'd help me.
It almost looked like it had melted right into his forehead. It was basically just almost 1/10 of a millimeter time because you didn't know are you going to be wounding him or not. We started dissecting it away from his forehead at the highest point and working down towards his eyes.
That's it right there.
I just was like, man, this is never going to come on. What's going on? I was holding on to it the whole time, and all of a sudden, boom, it fell free, and I had it in hand. Boy, I talk about a sigh of relief. And I just kind of laid there, glad to be out and be breathing some fresh air. I had a nice big swollen rectangle with the plaster pulled, and I had big chunks of plaster in my hair. But other than that, there were no permanent scars or any permanent damage done.
In the 2 years since that day, Eric has not managed to live down the incident.
Most everybody had heard about it, and a couple of kids in one of my classes demonstrated their version of it, and I just had to sit there and just laugh. It was hilarious to see them do this.
I'm glad it didn't scar him for life. If it had, I'd be a little more ashamed of teasing him, but he teases me enough, so he deserved it.
On the other hand, he may have gotten a lot of sympathy. I imagine he had a lot of sympathetic women around him. Oh, Eric, did it hurt? Was it terrible?
I don't know if I've learned anything that really made me a better artist from it, other than research the material you're going to be using a little bit more before you start using it.
All artists suffer for their art sometime in their career. Eric just happened to do it a little sooner than anyone had expected.
Thanks for using lowcast.org.
Hero, step out of the car, please.
Eight 800-208-5756. Al.
When you know what to do when disaster strikes, first responders break down real emergencies. It's the one show you can't afford to miss. Rescue 911, next on True Crime Network.
Mr. Hero, step out of the car, please.
First responders jump into action. Rescue 911, next.
This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
Today on Rescue 911, it was too close for comfort.
We didn't think Bilal had much chance at all.
An Australian community joins forces by land, air, and sea to save a beached whale.
We realized we're only going to get one chance.
Watch as over 7,000 people pull together for the rescue. Then,
I got baby's choking. She's choking on her.
a 911 operator is a panicked mother's only hope for her dying child. On Rescue 911.
We begin along the north coast of Queensland, Australia, as tourists and local townsfolk were enjoying one of the area's magnificent beaches. Most of the footage in the story was taped as events unfolded, beginning on the afternoon of August 16th, 1991.
afternoon, lifeguard supervisor Scott Brady was patrolling Perigian Beach.
I saw this whale cruising along 50 feet offshore, no more. A couple of small waves broke seaward of him, and he just scraped his belly on the bottom and got washed into shore. Some people who were bystanders were going there trying to rock the whale, rock him off the sandbar. It didn't work at all. We didn't think the whale had much chance at all.
I can suggest, folks, everybody can get up around the head, hold the head into the water, very careful down the tail, because if it goes the tail, it'll break them up.
My initial thoughts were this animal has very little chance.
Chris Warner, the curator of the Underwater World, was the first expert on the scene.
We had a hot day. We had a tide that's going out. It's getting hot, it's getting burnt. He was in fairly serious danger of boiling in his own blubber unless something was done.
Chris called in the Marine Rescue Team from SeaWorld, led by Rescue Coordinator Trevor Long. By the time they arrived, a large crowd had gathered around the whale.
I was concerned for these people because I don't think they realised the potential danger that they had themselves in. The weight of the animal was 30 tonne. If the animal was to move its tail in a violent action, you've got 4 tonne of body mass that could break you or even kill you.
Together, the experts assessed the whale's condition.
These animals come up for usually only one reason, and they usually come up to die.
But they determined that this whale was healthy and might survive if they could get it back into open water.
We've done quite a lot of work with the humpback as far as research, but getting one off the beach is another kettle of fish. We decided that we'd have to tow the animal off the beach to free it from the beach, and the only way we were going to tow it was with a large vessel.
Trevor put in a call then to SeaWorld for a 60-foot rescue and research vessel to start making its way up to Perigian Beach.
The animal was tending to be pushed aside onto the waves. If this happened, a large wave could have rolled the animal and submerged the blowhole, and of course it would have drowned if that was the case.
SeaWorld trainer Carrie Haynes Lovell took over organizing volunteers who worked through the night to keep the whale facing into the waves.
We limited the shifts to 30 minutes. People get very emotionally involved when they're trying to rescue animals, and particularly this one, because it was so rare an occurrence, and they forget how cold they're getting, even with wetsuits.
As volunteers fought to keep the whale alive, Trevor and Chris tried to design a sling that could pull the more than 30-ton mammal back out to sea.
The sling had to be self-releasing, because if the animal had a mind to go where it wanted to go, it could have quite easily have sunk the SeaWorld boat that was towing it.
You lucky to have these straps here, Chris.
I had never had any experience regarding the movement of an animal of this size off the beach. I'd had a bit of experience in moving large sharks, and I also have a background as an engineer, so I know a little bit about forces of lifting things and how to move things.
We've got to get someone to get it off if we can.
You tell off and hurry us on again. Yeah. That's a good idea, I guess.
The next morning, Trevor and Chris brought the sling to the beach.
It was quite a depressing sight. The animal was completely surrounded by sand, there was no water there.
The situation had become more desperate.
The whale was certainly in worse shape than it was when we first arrived there the day before. Its breathing had become extremely laboured and almost seemed like it had given up the will to live.
When we continued,
We felt if we didn't get him off at that next midday tide, we would lose him. The heavy equipment that were there would be there to bury him, not to save him.
Attention anyone on Medicare. Did you know millions of Americans over 65 don't have all the Medicare benefits they may be eligible for right now in 2021?
I'm on Medicare. What kind of additional benefits could I be eligible for?
Everyone on Medicare will get coronavirus coverage, but you may now also be eligible for additional Medicare-approved benefits, including dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drugs, plus benefits like free hearing aids, free eyeglasses, free meal delivery, prescription drug coverage, and expanded
Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was this late. I didn't know it was after 10. I mean, I fell asleep. I wasn't even awake. Ugh.
at-home telehealth visits.
I keep hearing that we don't automatically get new approved.
Qualify for additional or co-pays. Just call the toll-free number on your screen now to see if you qualify.
Should develop hydroactive. When you can have a hat that helps keep you cool.
Oh my! Arrested 39 years. If you have any...
We started to dig around the animal with just shovels. We needed bigger equipment. We attempted to build a sand wall which would allow wave action to dig a natural channel out past the animal. It was a race against time. It was amazing to see thousands of people there helping that one whale, and to think the fact that only a few years ago we were hunting these animals or hunting these whales in their thousands. You know, it's quite heartening.
It's just extraordinary. It's wonderful to see Australians rallying to do something for an animal that didn't even ask to do.
One chap, he came up to me and he asked, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, well, more or less jokingly, I said, "Can you dig me a channel through the surf?" And he said, "I'll give it a good go." And next minute he was out there in the surf with his equipment trying to dig this channel through the surf.
This is what these guys actually do for a living. This wasn't a hobby for them. These machines were their livelihood. So if they drowned, that was their livelihood.
We felt if we didn't get him off at that next midday tide, we would lose him. That unfortunately, the heavy equipment that were there would be there to bury him, not to save him.
As the tide rose and the animal felt more water around its body, it started to become a little bit more active. It could have fought, it could have done a tremendous amount of damage to the people around it, and it could have jeopardised the whole operation, but it remained calm. I do think the animal knew that we were trying to help it.
It was getting extremely dangerous. The waves were getting really strong. It was very dangerous for our boat as well. It was sitting out behind the breakers, and I can tell you I was glad I wasn't out there because it was rocking and rolling.
There was a window opportunity that would allow us to free the animal from the beach, but it was only a very small time frame. We realised we're only going to get one chance.
We had to go down and get these loops over the animal's petrol fins. The current was that strong, it was actually pulling the mask off from the face underwater. It was a hell of a difficult job.
Putting the loops over the petrol fins is probably like putting a tight pair of jeans on while you're standing in a crowded moving bus. We all joined hands just to stop the slings from being washed away, because our feet were being washed away from underneath us. You're very anxious, you're emotional, you're keyed up. You've got people in the water holding the animal still. You've got another group of people which are holding the sling. If this operation didn't work the first time, the animal was going to die.
Can you hear me? Seawall 1? Seawall 1?
I remember being down under the water, waiting for the boat to take up the slack on the road. It seemed like an eternity until the road actually came tight.
I find it very difficult to put into words what I felt at that time. I had tears in my eyes, and I suppose there was another part of me that was saying, geez, you can't stand and cry here on the beach in front of all these people. But that's what I felt like. I felt like going down on my knees.
When 7,000 people cheer, you have to be moved by it. I looked around, I saw Trevor, he had tears in his eyes, I had tears in my eyes, I turned away. We had the Minister for Environment, he turned around, I was looking straight at him, he's crying, he runs up and hugs me. You feel like running around and hugging 7,000 people. Once he got out there, he just took off, he swam past the boat. He just swam out of the sling and said, see you later guys, thanks very much. I'll see you next year.
Months have passed. All the people who helped out that day are proud of what they worked together to accomplish.
I don't believe that anywhere in the world there was an animal of this size and of this weight and this species which had ever been rescued before. It was a first. Oh, that was good, Splash. That was good. It was extremely rewarding just to be a part of it. Come on, Splash. That's a girl, Splash. Good girl. Good.
I don't want to see a whale stranded, I don't want to see any animal in distress. But to have that feeling again of succeeding with a whole group of people is just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Everybody was a hero that day. It was the job well done. We'd all accomplished what we'd set out to do. We'd saved our humpback whale.
As humans, we're always mucking up this. It was a small thing we could do to undo damage that mankind in general has done. If this attitude can be developed, not just towards whales, but to all animals, we might just reverse a few of these trends towards the destruction of the planet.
Next.
Yes, I got maybe the child.
There's not a feeling in the world to describe the terror that I was feeling. I thought I was going to lose her that day for sure.
All repeat.
Most of us would do anything to protect the people we care about most. But on the afternoon of June 5th, 1992, at her home in Indianapolis, Indiana, Lisa Smith found out that love is not always enough to keep them safe.
I babysit for Mindy and Melanie during the week, and on this particular day, I have my 4 children and the babies. After they got done with lunch, I brought the 2 babies in the house and sent the older kids on out to play.
Who's that?
Uh-huh. To Grover. Where? I don't see no dog. Mindy said that she had to potty.
You gotta go potty?
We started potty training about 2 or 3 months, and as a reward, I always, gave Mindy a sucker.
Devocrisis and fusion reactions and someday.
as perfectly as if these people had been driving.
The shots were fired that they
found CB1 weight gain. 9.
This story is not a recreation.
Okay, good evening. Let me tell you a little bit about New Year's Eve. It's important to the city that we as
Gave Mindy a sucker.
Good girl. Look what you get for going on the potty. Yeah, sucker. Good sissy one. Good. Accept it. There you go, sweetie.
Indianapolis Fire and EMS. Yes, I hear baby is choking. She's choking on the sucker. Okay, ma'am, calm down. What is your address? Really? No. Is that a house or an apartment? It's a double. It's a double? Yes. Okay, is the baby still conscious? Yes. She's choking. Okay, ma'am. Okay, hold on the phone. I'm going to dispatch somebody.
Carol Wash had been an Indianapolis Fire EMS dispatcher for 3 years.
My insides were just going crazy. You have 4 to 6 minutes to do what you're gonna do. And after that, it's real touchy.
I'm going to tell you. Let me get someone dispatched and on the way, okay? Stay on the phone.
I had to tell her to hang on for a second while I got the units going. And I felt bad about that, but I thought, at least I've got help on the way in case I can't help her.
Unit 2, rescue engine 12, the child choking, 1412. Location 5000 east, 308 north. How is she breathing? Is she breathing normally? No, okay, calm down. Is she turning blue or anything? Okay, she's not able to cry or anything? No. Okay.
There's not a feeling in the world to describe the terror that I was feeling. I felt like it was my fault. I'd never liked she was just my own. And I thought I was going to lose her that day for sure.
Okay. Just keep calm. You need to stay calm.
It was the first time I was going to have to use the emergency medical dispatch cards, so I was nervous.
Okay, what do you think she's choking on? A sucker. A sucker? Sucker, yes, she bit into a baby sucker. Okay. Okay, I'm going to tell you what to do for the baby, okay? Is she right there with you? Yes. Okay, remove the clothing from the baby's chest. Okay. Okay, pick her up. Yes. Turn the baby face down. Yes. So she's lying along your forearm. Yes, is she small enough for that? Yes. Support her jaw in your hand. Okay, the bottom should be held between your elbow and hip.
It's real nerve-wracking not to be able to see the person who's in trouble. You just have to take someone's word for it over the phone. And that's scary and dangerous.
Okay, now you've got all that? You've got her in that position? Yes. Okay, tilt the baby with the head down slightly. Use the heel of your hand to strike her back 4 times, right between the shoulder blades.
On the 4th thrust, the sucker just flew out of her mouth. I was just so elated that she was alive, you know.
She's not choking? Did the sucker come up? Yes. Great. How is she doing now? Is she crying? She's just drool dazed. Is she getting any air? Can you see her chest rising? Yes. Okay, great. All right, just lay the baby down. Keep her real still. Okay, ma'am, great. Okay. Bye-bye.
I'd never saved anyone over the phone, so it was a new experience for me. And I sat back in my chair, and then I looked around the room, and I said, I just had a save.
Within 3 minutes of the call, the Indianapolis Fire Rescue Unit was on the scene, led by Mark Oster.
When we arrived, I had one of the firefighters check out the baby, and there was no visible injury.
Yes, turned all blue.
She started to cry quite loudly, so we knew everything was completely fine with the baby at that point.
The sucker had become lodged in Mindy's throat when the stick it was on broke.
I had no idea that a sucker could be so dangerous after this experience. I don't allow them in my house. I don't allow my older children to have suckers, period. I already knew CPR, but I didn't know the Heimlich maneuver for infants. I think that's something that every babysitter, every mother in the world should know.
The Cox family is thankful for Lisa Smith's action that day.
I think she did great. And to tell you the truth, I think she's the only babysitter in a long time that I trust.
If it wasn't for the 911 system and Carol Walsh, Mindy would not be here today. I love Mindy to death. She's the sweetest little girl, and just to see her up running around and playing and normal every day, it's a wonderful feeling.
Give me a kiss, Mindy. Give me a kiss.
Hi, I'm Jimmy J.J. Walker. If you're on Medicare, listen to this. I call the 1-800 number to see what extra Medicare benefits I could get. An actual person answered, looked up my zip code, and boom, I was offered extra benefits like dental coverage, including dentures, extractions, fillers.
For more Rescue 911 streams, hit the big red button and subscribe. Peace out, YouTube. Sorry for the... I fell asleep during the broadcast.